Good morning.
Good morning.
I feel kind of bad standing up here this morning because you all showed up and looking for a little inspiration. Right about now you're realizing that's not Reverend Maurice. It's Janyce. What the heck is she going to tell us now? I know. I asked myself the very same thing. Let's talk about tolerance. Tolerance. Tolerance is the ability or willingness to endure the opinion of someone or something that you might not agree with, that you might actually find disagreeable. So, how tolerant are you? I'm going to share a story right now of a sage in India. It's a very popular story, so you may have heard it, but every time I hear this story, I get something different from it. So this is the story of the Saint of Tolerance. And it's about a true sage that did live in India. A long time ago, there was a sage named Eknath. So Eknath was such a patient and kind person, just very compassionate. He had a sterling character, and all the people in the town revered Eknath because in public, when he was with other people, he was the same as when he was alone in private. He really did live the golden rule. So Eknath every morning would walk through the town and go to the river to perform his ablutions. So ablutions, if you don't know, it's just a word for washing up before praying. So also in the town where Eknath lived was a man who liked to cause trouble. And the man lived on the path on the way to the river for Eknath. So the man saw him frequently walking by, and he had been hearing about this saint of tolerance and how perfect he was. And the man had grown weary of it because no one paid much attention to him. And he began to think about how perfect can a person really be. So he started to plot ways to prove that Eknath wasn't perfect. In fact, he started to tell the townspeople that he was going to knock the sage off his mighty pedestal and show that even a saint could have a bad day. So the next time he saw the sage Eknath walking by his house on the way to the river, he started saying unkind things. And he started insulting him. But Eknath ignored it and continued to walk to the river. So he was befuddled. Hey, I dare you, Eknath, listen to what I am saying. So right then, Eknath stopped and turned and looked at the man, and he smiled slightly. And then he walked back to the river. Eknath was confused. Why is he not reacting? So he thought, I'm just going to have to turn this up a little bit because he's obviously not easy to upset. So when the sage came back from the river, Eknath began digging deep into the dark catacombs of his soul and started pulling out every swear word and started cussing. The sage did not react. So, the next day, Eknath had a new plan. What he did was, when the sage went to the river and came back, he was ready. And he had a huge bucket of dirty water. And in it was bits of kitchen waste. And he dumped the bucket of water on top of St. Eknath's head. Well, he was soaked with the dirty water. And he dried his eyes with a little corner of his robe that wasn't wet. And kitchen waste was stuck to his snow-white robe. Eknath turned and went back to the river. Well, the man turned white. He was furious. What is going on? He was enraged. He thought to himself, I'm not giving up. I've got the time, and I need to prove that this is phony. I'm going to keep going. So when the saint came back from the river, he again dumped the dirty water with the kitchen waste, kersplash, all soaking him wet. And Eknath turned and went back to the river. I'm not giving up. St. Eknath came back from the river, and again with the same treatment with the bucket of dirty water. This went on just like this for 6 hours. And the man thought, this is unbelievable. 18 times he had put the dirty water over his head, and 18 times St. Eknath had walked back to the river. So on the 19th time, the man had a new plan. By this time, that dark, conniving, plotting, jealous person inside the man had already left. His will was broken. So when St. Eknath walked by, this time his plan was to take a bucket of flowers and to toss them to the saint. And when he did, he collapsed at the saint's feet and he begged for forgiveness. Now, instead of soaking the sage with dirty water, his salty tears fell down his reddened face, humiliated, onto his feet. And the man said to the saint, "Why did you not react? How could you put up with my misdeeds? How is it that you could be so tolerant?" Eknath said, "Tolerant? You did what you wanted, and I did what I wanted. You made your choice, and I made mine. Besides that, I have to thank you, for because of you, today, I got to perform my beautiful ablutions 18 times. And I am the cleanest, most purified before prayers I have ever been. This is the holiest day of my entire life. That's a good story. I love that one. So, is that what tolerance is? To endure and to hold back? What if tolerance is also about not holding, but getting on? Tolerance is a form of love. Tolerance and peace are lived in proportion to one another. Loving tolerance is not always about an active verb of love in terms of what we give or do to another person. Love can also be a passive verb, and tolerance is the same way. It can be passive, so it can be about what we allow another person to do to us. So how tolerant are you? How tolerant? We all live in relationships. Our partners, our families, our friends, our coworkers. Are you able to not just endure them, but to not hold and to go on? Each of us have different lived experiences that the other can't possibly understand. And each of us was raised with beliefs and understandings of other people that we don't even know that we hold deep inside. How can we live with other people in ways so that they don't have to just tolerate us or not hold on to things that we do? One of the ways is to learn about whether we have any kind of hidden, implicit bias deep inside. So how do you do that? How do you do that? One of the ways you can do that is take a quick test. Online, there's actually something called Project Implicit, and it is at the website implicit.harvard.edu. So it's implicit.harvard.edu. It's free. You don't have to give your name. You just use 2 fingers on a keyboard and answer questions really quickly based on a scenario. It measures your subconscious understanding and associations. And it gives you a report afterward if you have any kind of bias toward different groups. So you can find out if you have any hidden feelings about anything. Race, it could be about ethnicity, it could be about a faith or about gender, about people who are gender fluid, about cognitive ability, your physical ability. It's fascinating. And when you get the report, don't panic, because it's not a verdict. It's just a jumping off point for you to reflect upon your values and just beliefs that you have deep inside, so that you are aware when you interact with people that you hold those. So if you can take away anything from this talk about how tolerant are you, it might be to pause before interacting so that you're mindful that people have lived experiences, and some of them are traumatic, even children. So if you can, use the right words. Because you're all good people and you care about other people. So choose to use the words that they use. And if you can do something else, if someone is so different from you that you have no idea what their life is like and don't understand, allow them to tell you about it. And just listen until they stop talking before you talk about yourself. When you are with a person face to face, it's then that any preconceived expectations of people that are like them crumble, and you understand the truth for them. If you can make a love language, think about making it tolerance. Because across all cultures, in every country, some things are universal, like a smile or just a knowing glance. When we do that, we might find we make a new friend, or that we even draw love into our life. For it is never too late to be a better, more tolerant, improved version of who we were before this very moment.